is your magnesium. So you'll get that near the teacher's desk, no matter if you're in room 210 or 214. You'll need 2 pieces. And it says, place the piece of magnesium ribbon in a clean and dry 125 milliliter flask. At some point in the lab today, you'll need to have the volume calculated by putting the stopper in, putting a little mark, and get the volume of this flask using tap water, just like you did in the Charles Law lab. On step number 3, you're going to need a room temperature water bath. So you get a heavy duty beaker, fill it halfway full of water, and that's tap water again, and eventually your flask will be resting in there. Now the boxes that you're going to need, Ms. Peck is going to set up. So right here you're looking at what we call our vernier box, and she's going to show you how to connect a pressure sensor. And I'll disconnect this. When you come over here to the box, you can get the whole apparatus. But we're going to have to do it from scratch. So here she is connecting her pressure sensor.
Stella, you might want to
Can you zoom in there, Stella, and show her that?
So you want to connect this into channel 1, not the ones on the side, the ones on the top.
Okay. And then the other thing she's got to connect is, Stella, over here, a temperature probe. Looks like there's 2 in this box, Ms. Peck. So go ahead.
Okay, so again, the temperature probe has a connector. It goes into channel 2 on the blue box.
And again, you don't have to do the connect the interface to a computer. We're not using a computer. Now it's already kind of set up, so I'm going to hold it up. It says, use the clear tubing to connect the white rubber stopper. So here's our clear tubing, and here's our white rubber stopper to the gas pressure sensor. So there's a little guy right here where you attach right here. Make sure all your fittings are tight. If they're not tight, you're going to lose gas. I thought that was a screw-on thing. There you go. So that's tight. Okay, and then in addition to that, on step number 5, it says twist the white stopper snugly into the neck of an Erlenmeyer flask. So the stopper has to be snug during the lab too as well. And then it says close the valve stem of the white stopper by turning the white handle. Well, it's really a blue handle on a lot of these. So this position is open and this position is closed. And you can see this is pretty wobbly. So they already have the syringe attached in there, but I'm going to make sure that guy's not wobbling. I'm going to make sure this fitting and that fitting are totally snug in there. So then the next step says obtain a small amount of 1 molar hydrochloric acid. So temporarily I'm going to disassemble this guy so I can get that acid out. And these are what we call lure lock syringes. So they're going to unscrew just like we saw here. And I'm going to need to get some hydrochloric acid, and you'll dish out no more than 10 mils because you only need 5 mils per trial. I'm going to put that into a small beaker, and when you draw up material, this guy can even be totally disconnected. That's probably a better way to do it, but I think either way works. What do you think, Ms. Beck?
I think it's probably best to have it disconnected.
Yeah, have it disconnected. And so if I pretend that this is a small beaker, I'm going to suck up a little bit of acid in there. And if you can zoom in, Stella, I'm going to suck up enough acid so that it's 5 milliliters. So if you can zoom in and see the close-up, see where the black rubber line is, that's 5 mils. Okay, so that's how you get your acid. Be careful with that. It's only 1 molar, but it's goggles and apron kind of lab. And that says thread the syringe onto the 2-way valve on the white stopper. So I'm going to put it back on this guy here. And then back on, which one were we, right here? Do I have that right?
Yep.
And so it kind of, it screws on like this. And again, make sure everything is tight. The second time you do it, you'll do a better job than I am right now because it gets easier. Okay, so now I've got some acid in there waiting to be dispensed. Looks like I have my volume line, just double checking. So right like that. And I've got some acid in there, but in addition to that, we're now on step number 8. You're supposed to skip step number 7. You should have already weighed and put a piece of magnesium into this flask. So the little tiny piece of magnesium is in there waiting for you. We got our small amount of hydrochloric acid. We pulled 5 milliliters up into it. It's all set to go. Then this guy's got to go into a water bath. And so your water bath will be ready to go, and it'll just sit gently in there, so don't overfill it. Just have enough tap water in there so that the flask is covered. With the flask still submerged in the water bath, I know it says click collect. You shouldn't have to click anything. It should just start reading both temperature and pressure. If you're having any issues with the temperature and pressure calculation, see Ms. Peck or Ms. Doran.
Where should the temperature probe be?
The temperature probe, thank you, Ms. Peck, is also going to be in the flask or next to the flask. So with water in it, it'll be something like, we got that. And I'm kind of holding it here, but there's tap water in here about halfway full. Thank you. All right, so Ms. Peck, what else do we have to do? It says, after about, don't click collect to start the data collection. After about 20 seconds, then she opens the valve directly below the syringe, and then she squirts in the acid, and then she'll pull the plunger back to its original position, which was at 5 milliliters, and then now she has to make sure that she closes the valve. And all of this is taking place in your water bath, and you keep the flask immersed in the water bath as the reaction proceeds. I know it says data collection will stop after 5 minutes. All you need to do is to record the highest pressure. So you have to have a starting pressure before the reaction begins, then you have an ending pressure, and you don't even need to really click stop. You just need to record the highest pressure that you see. And then it says for cleanup, carefully remove the white stopper from the flask or relieve the pressure in the flask. Don't open the two-way valve. I guess that's important for some particular reason.
Because the plunger will shoot out of the syringe.
Okay, that's the important thing then. And then the other part of it is, I thought there were a couple more steps at the end. Who's got their lab handout handy? Here it is. On your data table page, it says, examine the pressure data to determine the change in pressure. And you have to determine the mean temperature of the water bath. What's mean? Average, okay? It shouldn't probably change too much. And record the temperature to the nearest what? 10,000. Not 10,000, this is temp. The mass is to the nearest 10,000. The temperature to be to the nearest 10th. You can guess between 2 marks. Finally, you can skip number 12. You don't have to store the latest run. Step 13, rinse, clean, and dry the flask for a second trial with a new piece of magnesium and collect data all over again. We're not going to do a third trial. That's it. Any questions?